Hey folks, this is Rhykker, and the patch notes for the test server for the upcoming Diablo 3 Season 21, patch 2.6.9 have gone live. These patch notes should cover the Season 21 theme, as well as the new Necromancer set and the new Demon Hunter set, so let's dive right into this and see what Blizzard has in store for us. The PTR test server will run for 2 weeks starting on May 21st, and it will include the new season buff, the 2 new class sets, and tons of legendary item changes. Season 21's theme will be the Trials of Tempests. Your character will occasionally, every 2 minutes, channel an elemental power which unleashes into the environment for a limited time. 1. Meteors rain from the skies around you. 2. You breathe lightning. 3. A wall of flame engulfs everything. And 4. You release twisters of pure energy. And 5. Crush your foes under the weight of rolling snowballs. So this is some kind of super powered convention of elements effect. So meteors from the skies, that sounds like stone. Lightning is lightning, obviously. Fire, twisters, I guess is, I don't even know. Energy, arcana? And rolling snowballs has to be ice, I suppose. Alright, important to note is that this triggers once every 2 minutes and lasts a limited time. So it's not that each effect lasts for 2 minutes and it cycles through them. This seems a little similar to the Pandemonium effect, except you don't have to go to great lengths to get it to trigger. We'll circle back to this a bit later. Let's get to the items. The new Demon Hunter set, Gears of Dreadlands. 2-piece bonus, gain a momentum stack when attacking with a primary skill. Each momentum stack lasts 2 seconds, max duration 10 seconds. Your primary skills deal 10% more damage per stack of momentum. 4-piece bonus, casting Strafe against enemies will automatically shoot your last used primary skill, and also give 60% damage reduction while strafing and for 5 seconds after. While casting Strafe, you move faster per stack of momentum. 6-piece bonus, your primary skills deal 10,000% more damage. Alright, this was a little unexpected to me. I didn't think it would be another Strafe set because Natalia is already sort of the Strafe set. But this is a generator build while also being a Strafe build. It sounds like you'll just be able to basically strafe around for the most part, sometimes casting your primary, but otherwise strafing around really fast. I think Strafe is a really fun power. I call it the whirlwind of the Demon Hunter, and I particularly like the faster move speed per stack of momentum. Then they're buffing some supporting items. The Leonine Bow of the Hashir. Bolas have a 100% chance on explosion instead of 30 to pull in all enemies within 24 yards and also deal a bunch more damage. Okay, so they clearly want Bolas to be one option to use with this set. That pull effect is really important to grouping enemies and thus killing them more rapidly. Amami's Duffel Bolas now explode instantly and deal a bunch more damage, so here we have 2 of these supporting Bolas items. Then the 9th series Satchel, instead buffing Hungering Arrow, guaranteed to pierce and also deals a ton more damage. Then Odyssey's End, enemies snared by your entangling shots take increased damage from all sources. So we have 3 different generators being buffed here. And at first glance, it seems as though actually you can use Entangling Shot with another generator. You'll use Entangling Shot in order to buff your other damage. So this could be actually a multi-generator build. That's interesting. A build in which you want to use more than one generator. All of a sudden, this set is getting a bit more interesting, a bit less mechanically simplistic, because now you're hitting a couple different abilities to activate your buff before you go around strafing. Very interesting. Then Hunter's Wrath gets a nice buff. This already was a belt for generator skills. Now it gives an even bigger damage buff to generators, and then a buff to the Holy Point shot. Interesting. Impale throws 2 additional knives and deals a bunch more damage. So this is a nice buff to the Shadow Impale Demon Hunter. Shadow Impale is one of my favorite builds in the game. It is very strong, it's fun to play, it's relatively easy to play, one of the easier builds to play, I would say, and super easy to gear for. At the start of a season, you always see Shadow Impale Demon Hunters climbing the leaderboards very rapidly because it's such an easy build to put together and push with. Toward the end of the season, Shadow Impale falls out of favor because it's not the most powerful build, but this is going to help it out a bit. All right, we'll circle back to more thoughts on this in a bit. Let's take a look at the Necro set. Masquerade of Burning Carnival. 2-piece bonus. Your simulacrums no longer take damage. They gain all runes, and its cooldown is refreshed when you die. 4-piece bonus. While you have a simulacrum, damage is reduced by 50%. Damage you take is split with your simulacrums as well. And the 6-piece bonus, your Bone Spear deals 10,000% increased damage. Simulacrums gain triple this bonus. So this is very much a Bone Spear build. Well, rather it's a Bone Spear Simulacrum build, because your simulacrums are also shooting out bone spears, and it looks like they're specifically avoiding buffing singularity mages here, which I'm actually very happy about, but we'll discuss that a bit more later. We're seeing a buff to the Grasps of Essence. Corpse Explosion deals even more damage. This will give a nice buff to some of the mediocre Corpse Explosion builds. Maybe it'll bring them into greater viability for speedruns. Haunted Vision. Simulacrum now drains only 1% of your max life every second and lasts forever. They can now duplicate Grim Scythe instead of Skeletal Mage. Now, a Simulacrum will typically cast a secondary skill when you do. So for instance, when you would cast Skeletal Mage, your Simulacrum would also cast a Skeletal Mage. Sort of a 2 for the price of 1 deal. Now it can no longer duplicate Skeletal Mage. This is a nerf to Singularity Mage's builds, and it's instead swapping in Grim Scythe. Then on Razeth's Volition, Skeletal Mage gains the effect of the Gift of Death and now Singularity runes, and you take increased damage reduction if your essence is not full. So with this item now giving the Singularity rune for free, I can see maybe people will want to take the Life Support rune in order to extend the duration on those Singularity mages. Then the next two combined together are interesting. Zaeith's Arms. 2-piece set bonus. While your skeletons are commanded to attack a target, you deal 400% increased damage. And then Grace of Inarius 4-piece. Bone Armor grants an additional 3% damage reduction per enemy hit. Now the problem with the Inarius set was not that it didn't have enough toughness, it's that it doesn't do enough damage. So I wonder if this combination, they're trying to steer us towards some combo Zaeith Inarius build. I'm skeptical that we'll see Inarius actually rise, but we'll have to wait and see. Then lastly, the Pestilence set. Basically getting a big buff to Corpse Lance and Corpse Explosion damage. This should help the Pestilence Necro rise. Right now we're seeing Corpse Lance is still dominating the Necro scene, but it is the Legacy of Dreams variant. Maybe this will help Pestilence become competitive, and maybe, in fact, just maybe, but unlikely, we'll actually see Corpse Explosion become a bit better. Of course, combined with the buff to the Corpse Explosion Grasps of Essence gloves. Then for the Crusader, we're seeing a nerf to the Valor Satyr. This was expected, that build was performing way too powerfully, so now the Shield of Fury can only stack 10 times instead of 20. An interesting change here. The Stone of Jordan gains a power. All elemental damage bonuses to skills are now equal to your highest elemental bonus to skills. This is very interesting and actually makes the Stone of Jordan maybe a new competitive ring slot option. It was generally just a weaker version of the Convention of Elements, or a variant you would use for speedruns when you don't want to fuss over your convention rotation window. But now this means that, for instance, you can turn any build into a fire build. Fire, for most classes, has the most supporting items. Between the Cindercoat chest, the Mage Fist gauntlets, you're just able to stack more fire damage than any other elemental damage buff. So perhaps for Legacy of Dreams builds, the Stone of Jordan is now going to become a valuable item. Big nerf here to Reaper's Wraps, added a 2-second internal cooldown to the health globe effect. This effectively kills any use of this item. And this, of course, most affects Necromancers. So it looks like they're really trying to shake up the Necro meta. Hopefully that works out. Then a small thing, Mantle of Channeling now works with Necromancer's Siphon Blood. And then Convention of Elements, add it non-static to the wording of the Legendary Powers description. The functionality is unchanged. Onto some skill changes. Necromancer Final Service no longer consumes pets, that's nice. Bone Prism Simulacrums now benefit from this passive, that's nice. Serration Simulacrums benefit, that's nice. Corpse Explosion damage, whoa, massive buff here to Corpse Explosion damage. Maybe Pestilence builds will now be able to use Corpse Explosion and be viable. Maybe it'll even surpass Corpse Lance? Fingers crossed. Then Witch Doctor, Spirit Barrage. Mundanugu was way overperforming. I'm surprised we didn't see any Mundanugu nerfs. It looks like they're doing the nerf to the skill itself. The Spectres from the Phantasm rune no longer benefit from pet bonuses. This is a big source of damage increase for this build. A lot of multipliers are being lost here, so this is a nice nerf to Mundanugu. The two builds that were way overperforming, the Valor Satyr, Mundanugu Witch Doctor. They needed to be nerfed, they're getting nerfed. We'll see how meaningful those nerfs are. So that covers all the changes. Let's do a quick once over here for some final thoughts. So the seasonal theme feels reminiscent of the Season of Pandemonium. The difference is in Pandemonium, you had to actively do stuff in order to trigger the effect. With the Trials of Tempest, it's just on a clock. With the Season of Pandemonium, we were seeing very high GR levels attained due to people finding ways to effectively cheese the system. It's not cheating, but it is cheesy tactics or clever use of game mechanics in order to get certain effects to trigger at the right time to finish off the Rift Guardian. It's clever planning. It seems like with the Trials of Tempests, this will perhaps still be possible. It's unclear how powerful these effects will be, but instead of having to do a bunch of cheesy stuff, the cheesy stuff is really just waiting out a clock, which maybe will dissuade people from relying on this, but really it does come down to how powerful these effects are. It certainly feels like a less engaging system because there's nothing that you can do to influence it, but it might encourage players to be in the right position at the right time in order to benefit from these effects. That said, if it happens every 2 minutes, if there's no countdown timer happening, then it would rely on the player timing this themselves, which probably means that for most players, it'll just be kind of like a random thing that triggers now and then. And for the players who really want to go the extra mile, they'll take out their timers and they will actively time this effect. For the Demon Hunter set, I was hoping for something a little bit more creative, but because this seems like it might be at least at minimum duo generator build, this could be interesting. At the very least, it should be fun to play super fast Whirlwind Demon Hunter. What I was really hoping for with the Demon Hunter was some kind of set that would allow for a playstyle that we can't otherwise get. We can have strafe builds, they're not very strong, but overall, I'm hoping that the generator side of things will add enough mechanically interesting things to do to make this a fun build. Now for the Necromancer, what I really wanted was a couple things. I wanted a set that did not just keep pushing forth the Necromancer agenda of Corpse Lance, Singularity Mages. So this clearly is a Bone Spear only build, which is great. I didn't want the new set to be accidentally adopted for builds with Corpse Lance or Singularity Mages, and I think the 4-piece bonus does that very well. That 50% damage reduction to Simulacrum ensures that other builds won't be using this. I also was really hoping for Land of the Dead to not be a viable option with the new build, and I'm not sure that's been addressed. I just don't want another Necromancer build that revolves around timing a 10-second damage rotation window, but odds are that will once again be the case. For the longest time, the group meta has involved speed runs with Necromancers, and it's looking like a lot of these nerfs here and adjustments are maybe going to try to mess with that, which is great. We do need a shake up in that meta, and we're going to see Pestilence builds rise, and maybe Corpse Explosion will replace Corpse Lance. I would hope so. Corpse Explosion is a very fun skill. The nerfs to the Crusader and to the Witch Doctor are completely warranted. The Stone of Jordan power, very interesting, and I look forward to testing out all these things myself when the PTR goes live. But leave a comment with your thoughts, folks. What are your thoughts on these patch notes? What are you most excited about? Sound off in the comments. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more Diablo content.